Welcome back. We are at day 17 of Cook for Victory with me, Maddie.
And my name is Millie, and we are cooking once again tonight at Cookery School at Little Portland Street.
Tonight is actually my specialty night. I've been a pastry chef for over 10 years and I've done my last 3 teaching here at Cookery School.
I'm from London. I did my professional training here at Cookery School, and before that was a private chef in Tuscany.
Yes, and I say tonight is my special night because we're doing pasties tonight, but I will let Millie explain later. I just want to give I want to give a brief introduction into what we're trying to do, although tonight is a little bit special. We're trying to use kind of really like mostly simple ingredients, some that you can find anywhere in the shops, and showing you how to use them in a multitude of ways, adding heaps of flavour into the simplest of ingredients, and hopefully cooking yourself a really nice, easy dinner wrapped up tightly in 1 hour.
Yeah, perfect. So tonight we are making Cornish pasties, which is a delicious pastry filled with, well, tonight we're keeping it quite simple. We're doing cheese and herb, but traditionally it would be a meat, potato, maybe turnip and onion filling. So we're doing a lovely plant-based version tonight, and also finishing off with a really refreshing summery carrot and orange salad.
So simple, but this is quite a nice pastry to keep on hand. It is very simple, particularly if you've got all the ingredients about. So believe it or not, even though we're making pastry, we're still going to start with onions. So This is cheese, herbs, potatoes, we've even got some turnips, and we're going to caramelize these onions just for that little bit of extra flavour. And we'll show you that making pastry, even though everyone I think is a little bit scared of it, is super, super simple. We're going to show you a couple of different mixing methods, and you can do it all by hand if you need to. But never forget that everything starts with a caramelized onion. And we're going to make these quite a small dice, so everything that we put in the pasty is going to be quite small. We'll cube our potato very small and everything like that, and the onion is no different, and it's going to be the same as every other night.
So starting by taking off the top, that's the bit that isn't really hairy, and then you're going to put it nice and flat, hand between, you're going to anchor your knife and then cut through the roots, peel it, get rid of any ugly bits. That feels really neat.
Or extra dry. Yeah, sorry. Less beautiful than the pure onion inside.
And you can grab yourself a frying pan or like something nice stainless steel where it's going to conduct the heat really well, and a little bit of oil. So we're going to do the same as every night.
Hairy tonight. We've got massive onions, which is quite nice. And this is a good part of the flavour inside. So if you've got small onions, don't be afraid to put a little bit extra in there.
So you want to just go down to the layer that's looking really bright and shiny. Shouldn't have any blemishes and things, and if it does, you can just trim them off at that point.
Getting all our hair and dry bits off our pastry, our cutting board. I'm just excited to make pastry.
Pastry!
And I've done my best, kept the root on, and we're going to go as small as we can. So again, using the end of our knives, we've got nice baby knives tonight.
These have got really, really thin blades, so they're quite good for precision work.
But again, the sharper the knife, the easier this is going to be for you.
But we are going sort of tip in and dragging the knife back. So I'm going tip in, dragging the knife back without going through the root of the onion. So it's all staying together, but I've cut all the way through it. And now I can cut across it. So I'm getting a nice fine dice. So because the onion is in a half moon already, all of those layers just disintegrate when I cut across it, and you'll give lovely small,
tiny
small
little
squares.
baby pieces. And I'm going to introduce our friend for one of the last times. We're at day 17 out of 20, guys. Mr. Jeffrey is here. He will be in special use tonight for the pastry, but he's also there to keep you safe and clean your knife and pick up your onions when you're finished. And of course, clear the hairs of your onions off the board when you're at the start.
So when your onion starts to get a little bit wobbly, you're going to just do a couple of cuts around the root. Then you're going to keep on chopping using your roots as a handle. And then you can just keep flipping down to the next flat side until you've used up all your roots. If you have made these a little chunky, You can just keep on chopping with your hand on top of the knife, going over them to make them a little bit smaller.
Finish it off.
And we're going to pop these straight into our pot, which is off the heat. I'm going to add a big pinch of salt and some cold oil.
Master chef.
Thank you. Right.
I'm just being lazy. I'm bringing the pan to me. So this is going to make, well, it looks like a lot, but it's actually not going to make much. So these fine dices we're going to get caramelizing the same way that we always do. So you can see it's cold onions, cold pan, cold oil, big pinch of salt.
Still just doing that fine dice so they cook nice and quickly and they're not too big.
And a nice high heat. We've got good pinch of salt as always, and a nice toss of oil. And we have bought our patience as well tonight. I hope. Gonna give them a nice toss in that oil and that salt. Put it on a really, really high heat and wait for that caramelization to start. As always, we don't want to be stirring it. We want it to be really nice and caramel on the bottom before we even make our first tops. So I've got this, if you've got induction at home, on 14. Very, very high. If you've got super big flames, just as high as you can get it without them running up the sides.
Right, so we're just going to clear everything away because now we're going to move on to our Maddie's favourite section, which is pastry.
Can you tell it's my favourite section? So this is going to be the same pastry two ways. So I'm going to show you by hand, and then Millie's going to show you in a Magimix. Both ways are fine. They both end up with the exact same product, and I'm just showing you that it's quite easy to do it by hand, and it can be a little bit easier to control as well. It's a really simple recipe. If you've got an eye for numbers, this is very loud. If you've got an eye for numbers, however much flour you have, so 250 grams of flour, half in your fat, so 125 grams of butter, a good pinch of salt to match. The original recipe is a pinch of salt, a good pinch of salt, and then you can scale it up from there. It's going to go in with your flour. So you've got your flour and your salt in your bowl. And this butter is not butter that you've left outside. It's really cold and hard from the fridge. And so what that's going to do is, when we're doing this next motion, you're not going to make a dough. We're trying to make still like a kind of like a sandy flour or a wet flour. So it shouldn't come together. And if this is too warm, you sometimes accidentally make a dough in your bowl, and we don't want that just yet because we're going to add a touch of water as well. We're looking for crumbs or thick crumbs.
So if you join us for bread night, we are basically doing the exact opposite. We're trying not to knead this, we're just being very, very gentle, crumbly.
Yes.
I'm going to be doing mine in the Magimix tonight because I've got double and it will take me an hour.
A lot.
The whole hour.
If you've got warm hands, this is great for you. This is your number one job. So flour in, butter in, and have on hand or in your fridge in the winter straight from the tap, but very cold water. It doesn't take too much. This recipe, if you've got your 250 flour and 125 butter, it's not too much, maybe a quarter cup or something similar like that. So it's not like a whole cup or anything, but it does need to be very cold. Again, trying to keep your pastry nice and cold.
So you see Maddie's got really, really small chunks of butter because she's going to be mixing this by hand, whereas I've got a machine, I can use much bigger chunks, so it's going to cut it all up for me. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah. And then basically we're tossing our flour to get the butter covered, and this is called, it's rubbing in. So if you've seen a scone recipe, it would be a very similar thing in that you're smearing your butter through the flour. So not squeezing the butter per se, but you're flattening it and smearing it through. This is, hopefully in the next few minutes you realize just how easy this is. So this is your short crust pastry. This is the most neutral version. So it's not really sweet, not really savory. You can use it for a number of things. Pasties is a classic. Pies, another classic use for short crust pastry, but there's plenty out there. It's a very, very versatile pastry, and you'll see that it's quite easy. And if you do it right, you rub your butter into perfection, you don't overmix it, rule number one, and you cook it well. It's super flaky, super crumbly. That notion of short is like shortbread, so short eating means lots of butter.
tell me when you want me to start.
Okay, well, I've got very cold hands, so I will be doing, always I'm going to dig to the bottom of my bowl, but I'll be rubbing for a little while, so you can go nuts, Millie.
All right, so with a machine, the blade is doing all the hard work. It's also keeping it nice and cold because blades don't have warm hands. So it's just going to chop up all my pieces of butter, mix it in with the flour, make sure it's well coated. So the reason this is so crumbly partly is because the butter is stopping any of that gluten from forming that we saw on bread night. So it will get nice and stretchy. It should stay very, very short and crumbly, like as Maddie was saying, like a delicious shortbread. So I'm going to start doing short pulsing motions. Whoop, I might come to the top.
Make a mess.
Lovely. So already, just from a couple of pulses, I'm going to annoy Maddie. Already I've got something that is big crumbles, which is still not quite close enough, so I'm going to put it back on and get it mixing again.
And so... Sorry. No, I will let you make your noise right until the very end and then I'll continue to talk.
And now, we're getting closer to what is sort of like breadcrumbs. Just be careful if you are using these because they do have a blade inside.
Be very careful.
If I shake it really hard, you can see it's beginning to get a little yellow because the butter is starting to mix with the flour, but still kind of pea-sized crumbles of butter. So I need to go a little bit further and it should turn a touch yellow from mixing it in. But it's not that it's mixing, it's just breaking it up into small little crumbs.
And if you're being the machine like me, hopefully you're getting some point close. What you're looking for, I'm giving it a shake because I know that it will bring the rest of the butter that I haven't rubbed through up. But you can see already it's looking darker, it's feeling wetter, and it kind of looks like crumble if you've ever made it before. So I'm going to go a little bit further. Oh yeah.
Let's have a little check in on our onions. So through willful neglect, they've got lovely and brown. So you do want to leave them alone, otherwise they just won't get brown. Now I'm going to add a big splash of water. It's called deglazing if you haven't been with us before. It's going to dissolve all the caramel stuff in the bottom, and the only place that can go is back onto my onions. So now already they're looking quite brown, and all that scary brown stuff that looked like it was about to burn has dissolved and got nice and soft and sweet, smelling good. So we're going to let this continue to cook without stirring it too much.
So in terms of your ingredients, I did say this was quite simple, and it is best to keep them at their best. So use nice butter, use nice flour. We wouldn't replace anything. This is definitely a butter only dish. It's not just my love of butter. It does add to the quality as well.
So yeah, no margarine. We're just using straight butter. I've only got about 5 seconds left on mine, so I'm just going to wait until you feel like you're ready.
I'm so close.
So close. But this is looking really yellow.
I know.
Already.
So
you always say that takes you so long, but that was about 2 minutes.
I felt like it took me 20
So
years.
easy.
Okay, I've given my bowl a little shake like I did, just to make sure there's no huge amounts of butter left. It's looking really good. It's very wet and sandy is usually what a lot of recipes will say. I know that there's no flour. It's all kind of yellow buttery flour here. So a good sign is if you can squeeze it together but then still break it apart, that's a really good place to be in. So give it a good squeeze, and then if you can easily break it apart, that is absolutely fabulous. A big question is, why can't you just keep on going until it makes a dough now? That would be, because we're using a rolling pin tonight. Short is good, but it would be almost too short to use. You can't roll it out. You need something to give it a bit of structure to bind it together. And for tonight, that's really cold water. So I'm gonna, how clean your hands? Millie's gonna bring some cold water out of the fridge. This is something that can be a little bit different. So if you've got really warm hands like me and you've started to melt your butter a little bit, it might be really yellow. You might need slightly less water. If you've got really cold hands or a cold machine and it looks a little bit paler, you might use slightly more. It's always going to be not much. So realistically, a 1/4 cup is a very loose guide, but it's just enough to bring it together. So just enough to make everything stick together, and our main option now is to not over mix. So we're going to add enough water just to combine, and that's it. So I'm going to get my 1/4 cup.
At this point, sorry, just to interrupt, these onions will start to cook quite quickly because they're starting to release all their sugar. So you don't want to walk away. I did say neglect them, but don't leave them alone forever. So I can start to hear them sizzling, so I'm not going to forget about them forever. I might actually turn it down just a touch in this situation because I don't want them to burn while I've got dough all over my hands. That won't be a very good time. So,
okay, I'm saying a 1/4 cup, 4 tablespoons, 50 mil, 60, something along those lines. That doesn't mean that that's always correct. So don't just go and slog all this in and say, it's got to be perfect. It changes every single day. So we're going to make like a little hole in the center. We're going to pour half of it in to start, because you never know. Some things, it's just different. And then we're going to grab like, pretend you've got claws, I guess. And all we're trying to do is just pinch it and mix it without creating, so you're talking about the gluten. We're trying desperately not to over mix this. So we're trying to bring it together into a nice dough without beating it, without kneading it, without bashing it about. We're being very, very gentle. And you'll see, okay, I can see already it's still very dry. So I'm going to go in with the other half, and that's my whole 1/4 cup in. So we're going to see how it looks tonight with the 1/4 cup. This is really easy, particularly in the machine, to overwater. And if you have too much water, one, it's harder to roll, but it also shrinks a lot more in your oven because the water just evaporates out. So your Cornish pasty might look beautiful, and then it shrinks and all your filling explodes out. So we're aiming for just enough water to combine.
Great, so I'm going to start mine. Mine only needs maybe 5 more seconds of blitzing. It is very, very close, which is why I've just held it at this point. Again, my hands haven't really been involved, so I know it's still nice and cold. So I'm going to do a quick. And now I'm going to add in my water. So I'm starting with that 1/4 cup because I've got a double, so I know that's my half amount. And I'm just using that pulse function. I'm not mixing it, I'm not kneading it, because I'm trying not to develop that magical gluten that is very, very bad in pastry, but delicious in bread.
So we did a lot of talk about gluten for the bread, which is what you love gluten in bread. As a very, very vague concept, this is very vague here. If your dough has yeast in it, gluten is good. If it doesn't have yeast in it, something like a short crust, gluten is bad. That's a very general rule. So it doesn't apply to everything, but if you're looking for something general, that's a good thing to follow. This, can you see that? Yeah, okay, good. Mine looks like it's still a little bit dry, but if you give it a really good squeeze like this, it actually is starting to pick up a bit of that moisture. So I can feel that I'm quite close. I'm going to add maybe another 10 mil just to finish off.
My onions are starting to look nice and caramelized, but they are close to catching on the bottom, so I'll add a splash of water to stop them from burning. And then I'm going to add the rest of my water into my mix, so that it gets to the same point that Maddie's at.
And then I added 10 mil, just enough to kind of bring everything together. And again, I'm not kneading. If you were to continue to knead this and beat it really hard and like mush it about on the bench, so you create your gluten, and what does that do to your pastry? One, it shrinks in your oven, that's not very fun. Two, it no longer is short and crumbly, which is what we love. It's more tough and chewy and very, very average. So at this point, even though it looks a little bit rough and tumble, I'm going to picture that I'm turning it inside out. So your hands should be warm. Give it a squeeze. And all I'm doing is trying to get the dryish edges into the center underneath, and I'm just turning it inside out, but I'm not kneading it. I'm just picking up all my little dry bits and creating myself a nice little flat bit of pastry where there's no dry bits anywhere. It's all kind of picked up. It looks rough. So if your dough at this point is super beautiful, super smooth, you've probably overmixed it. So it should be looking a little bit rough at this stage. It's going to take a little bit more mixing when we start rolling.
Right.
And now you're going to do yours
my
in
last,
a quarter of
my
the
last
time.
little bit of water. So again, bread is needing to make gluten, but pastry never really has any gluten. In fact, you can often buy low gluten flours in the supermarket for baking pastry. So I just want to whiz it until it starts to come together. And it can definitely take a little bit more water. It's still looking nowhere near in terms of dough-like consistency, nowhere near. So I'm going to add another tablespoon or 2. And now I can begin to see it forming on the bottom of the bowl, which is great. Still a little bit dry, touch more water. Another 2 tablespoons, and that should take me to... What do you think, pastry chef? Ooh. Right, as soon as it starts to form a ball around my knife, it's done. So, out it comes. Just be careful again if you are using something like this with a knife that you don't get your fingers involved. And voila.
Aww.
In the course of the effort, yeah, in the big fat cheat. That's me.
So, of course, This is a little bit soft because we've been mixing it, and again, I've got really warm hands. It's very floppy. It's not going to be very fun to roll out at all. And a little bit of rest will always help you out with pastry. It's going to be much easier to roll if you put this in the fridge to sleep for 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm wrapping mine up like a little flat bundle, and the reason I have made it flat is one, it's going to cool quicker, but also we have to roll it out. So if you make it this high, it's going to be really hard to roll out once the butter firms up in the fridge.
How's that looking?
That looks lovely.
If I show this a little more up close, you can see these kind of streaks of water, streaks of butter fat. So it is very, very roughly mixed. It's not perfect and beautiful.
Even in the machine, it should still be a little bit rough. It should never ever be super smooth. We've got one happy baby.
And I'm just spreading it out so it chills down a little bit quicker. Of course, you can chill it in a big, thick block, but it will just take a lot more time.
A lot longer to chill and a lot longer to roll out on the other side. I'm actually going to make it even faster.
Yes. I always forget that I'm doing.
Yeah, you have to use a rolling pin. You're not a machine.
I'm not a machine. That's so right.
That is a beautiful pastry. Nice and flat. Half the time cooling. 2 happy babies in the fridge. So now is a very good time to give a bit of a quick clean up to your bench.
And to check on your onions, if they are starting to get nice and golden brown on the bottom like ours are, smelling very, very good in here. They're sort of becoming a nice dark mahogany colour. A little hard to see in the light, but they're getting much more brown, but we need to add a splash more water, and now I can watch it. I'm going to keep a really close eye on it so it doesn't begin to burn. So ideally, because you want your butter to be really, really cold, we're not going to put our hot filling in there because it will begin to melt it. So that's why we started off with our onions, so we can get them chilling down and they are not boiling hot going into our mix. So just as a little reminder, we started these in cold oil off the heat. Then I put the pan on with a big pinch of salt and let them go really, really high. But I didn't touch them too much so they didn't burn.
In fact, we kind of forgot about them.
In fact, we kind of forgot about them while we did our pastry. And then every now and then I'll stir them to make sure that they are browning on the bottom. But if they do begin to burn or catch, we just add a big splash of water to stop that from happening. Salt is added towards the start to season it very slightly, but mainly it's there for pulling out moisture, because moisture is going to stop it from browning, basically. You want all the water to dry off so it begins to caramelize, so we can get lovely brown onions. And if you don't add the salt, it just takes much, much longer. I've seen it so many times.
So I guess now is a really good time to introduce our guest for tonight. So we have, who's coming up to help us chop some veggies, chopper, and fill our pasties, is Shane Holland. So he's the chairman of Slow Food UK and Borough Market. So yeah, come on up. We're going to put you to work now.
And onions,
They look
looking
good.
pretty
welcome,
good.
Welcome.
These
Super
are
excited to be
golden
with
brown.
you.
Love the apron. Looking good.
Looking good, I think so.
Yeah, matchy matchy.
There we go.
I'm just going to put these in a bowl to cool down, just so they can get nice and cool before we put them in our pastry.
And
Over
we
to
are
you.
going to, so that's part of our filling. So we've got caramelised onions, we have a huge potato, that
you
is
go.
your job number one, give that a very good peel.
I can do that. Here
We
we go.
have some potatoes, we've got some turnips even, anything that's like a root vegetable, or white pale root vegetable. But potatoes are a classic, we've got some turnips, a swede if you can find one, also lovely. But plain old potatoes are absolutely delicious. And of course, our caramelised onion and cheese and herbs. A simple, simple filling. And you'll notice, even though it is a pie or a pasty, there's no gravy tonight. It's going to be quite a dry one. So, tell us a little bit about what you do.
So Slow Food is a food organisation that puts food at the heart of everything we do.
So we believe that everyone has the right to good food, and we want to think about where our food comes from. And if we think about food, sometimes we think food's about calories. But food's far more than calories. Food's about love, it's about a sense of connection.
Yes.
And I'm standing here now thinking about my childhood, because I'm a Cornishman, so pasties.
Aha.
I feel 8 years old. I'm not saying you're my mum, but I feel like I'm 8 years old next to my mum. And that's what I think is so special about food, because when we eat, it takes us back to that place.
It's like that moment in Ratatouille.
Yeah, so exactly. So I think food's so special, and that at its heart is what slow food is. So we run lots of schools programmes thinking about getting kids involved in cooking, because we've forgotten to cook. And I think this is why this is such a fantastic school here and such a fantastic project. Because if we stop eating, and so many of us do, and then that's a ridiculous thing to say, because we all eat every day, but are we eating food, Maddie?
No, I feel like it's everybody forgets that everyone has to eat 3 meals a day. So you cannot escape cooking. You cannot escape, and you shouldn't. It's like one of the funnest things to do.
Totally, and I think, sometimes we forget that, and it's really easy to say, actually, I don't have time. Maybe we go home from work and we think, gosh, it's really difficult, or it's really expensive. And actually, it's not at all. I just love this particular series, because actually what you're really showing us is that we can go home from work and produce something really quick, something really easy. And this is not expensive at all.
Chips, cheap as chips.
It's a lot cheaper. I mean, I'm not going to name the companies. We all know who those bike companies are. It's much, much cheaper to do this and eat something really, really nourishing. Sorry, I need to be quiet and peel your potato.
No, you take your time.
You've done this at light speed, even though I've been doing this since I was 6 or whatever it was.
Without putting too much I'm a very good peeler. I've talked about it a lot.
Manny's the best peeler. I'm a good chopper. Dream team.
I'm butchering this, but maybe that's a good thing, because actually, again, a lot of us worry about knives and things, don't we, at home?
Doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little primer if you want on slicing.
Are you going to show me how to do this? 'Cause I'm a home cook. People expect me to be near chef skills. I work in food, and my knife skills are absolutely terrible. So I'd love to see how to chop. I would love to see that.
So we're going down to where it looks really nice, just trimming off any ugly little bits. Any eyes you can take out with a peeler. So all peelers will have this, sorry if I can steal yours for a sec, will have this little weird looking contraption.
Digger.
If you haven't noticed it before.
Which bit's this?
That little one.
So digging out your eyes.
Digging out
these eyes, those
You always
eyes.
sound so violent when you say it.
I've always wondered what that's for. My potato has lots. I think
A few eyes.
Couple
Yes,
little
an
eyes.
eye. You can dig that out with your little digger.
I think this potato's called taking one for the team, isn't it? But anyway, we'll dig that out. I never knew what that was for, so that's really great.
So once you've done that, ideally we're always working with a flat surface when we're chopping. So I'll just kind of take off a little bit, a little flat cheek. So I have got something flat to chop with. If you're ever dealing with a rocking surface, it is just liable to move, just like jump around on your chopping board, which is not very easy. So we're going to go as fine as we can for our potatoes. If they are on the chunky side, there is a pretty good chance that your potatoes will not be cooked in time. Your pastry may begin to burn in the worst situation.
Everything should cook at the same rate.
Yeah, so you don't want undercooked pastry.
Cooking without insides cooking at the same time. So that's why it's going to be really, really small. And if you have beef, you decide to go way off course and do beef as well. You also do the same thing, very small chunks. I just want to introduce the turnip.
Oh yes.
This is a turnip. It's a lot firmer than a potato, so we're going to cut everything very, very small, but this one, make sure it's super small. If you've got these little summer turnips about, they're quite cute. They're very
little
purple.
sweets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're delicious. See, in Cornwall, really bizarrely, turnip is actually
Sweet, so it's one of those kind of things, but these are really, really delicious.
What is Swede?
So sweet, this is a turnip as well.
Yes,
So
and Swede is big and yellow.
Big and yellow,
Yeah.
and we call them both turnip, which is one of those kind of really bizarre, and I can say this as a Cornishman. You go into a shop in Cornwall, you ask for turnip, and no one actually knows what you're talking about, because it can be one of those, or it can be a
the big
sweet.
one. Oh.
Exactly the same as Scotland as well. So I
really?
think it's a Celtic thing.
Oh,
so
I have never heard that before.
we confuse people by having the same name for two very different vegetables. Well, they're the same family, but
it is a rare occurrence when I see a Swede, though.
Yeah.
It's a very unlikely
Not in
scenario.
season right now.
But I just love these in pasties. They give that really wonderful kind of savoury flavour alongside, don't they? They're just
They get
delicious.
a little bit of crunch as well.
So
you've
I need
cut
to know as a
your
knife.
cheek
Yep.
off a little bit of the flat surface. So now I've got my flat bit. So with a potato, they're quite sticky. If you just go up and down, it will come along for the ride, which is a little bit annoying. So what we're going to do just for this one is we're going to actually drag our knife back to create these very thin planks. When I say a plank, I mean literally just like a plank of wood. I'm going to do a couple of those. So just dragging my knife back in these very, very thin chunks. I'm going to stack them on top of each other. And now I'm going to do matchsticks. Dragging my knife back, so it doesn't run away from me like it is now. You don't have to do quite as many as I have just now, but the more you stack, ideally the more you cook at once. We're doing them thin so they cook in the oven in time as well. So just remember, we're not going for a chunky dice here. It does have a specific purpose in this situation where we want them to cook in time and not get too crunchy. So hopefully, what you guys have at this point is lots of little matchsticks. And we're going to keep them in a nice tight bundle, and then we're just going to go across them to get these very...
I'm going to say, if you have a slow oven at home to heat up, now's a good time to turn it on. Your Cornish pasties are going to cook 200, can be a little bit higher. We want to make sure everything, the steam and everything that hot is going to get there really, really quickly. So a nice high heat. 200's great, 210 is also fantastic.
And I've got my claw as well, always doing the claw when I'm doing anything a little bit fiddly. So everything is tucked right under, so especially your pinky and your thumb that like to creep out. So you're never going like this, going tucked under so your nails are touching the board, because that's the things you want to keep well out of the way of the knife, especially if you've got lovely sharp ones like we have tonight. So now I've got these very, very cute little cubes. These will cook very fast in the oven and you don't have to pre-cook them or anything. So I'm going to continue with my dicing and slicing.
Tiny dice. If you were wanting to do this in advance, I don't know, for some reason you've chosen to make Cornish pasties for 20 of your friends.
Bold choice.
Hey,
That's a good thing.
look at this!
You've done this before.
Yeah, you've done this before. Home chef, real chef, yeah. You've just learned just now.
My knife skills are appalling, as you've seen. Actually,
I'm quite impressed.
My sticks are a little bit too long. Does that matter?
No, it's fine.
Does
Your
that-
sticks
is that
can
all
As
right?
be
long as it cooks quick.
as long as you want, but you just want your final little cubes to be nice and small. So,
I would
say you've done the
I think
worst
you've
thing.
been
You've
kind to
gone higgledy-piggledy and some of these are really big. You can just chop your knife over it with your hand on top and they will get smaller. They'll just not be such uniform cubes and they might cook slightly differently.
Oh, yes.
But if you have got giant cubes, it's better to have them a little smaller and a little rough and tumble than having them really big and they're not going to cook in time.
And back to making Cornish pasties for 20 of your friends. I don't know why I use that as an example. If ever you've got potatoes and you're doing them, we're going to mix it pretty much straight away now. This is not really a mix you can mix well in advance because the salt that we're going to put in will just make everything turn to mush in the bottom because it kind of drains the water out like we did with our onions, but it will drain everything out of the potatoes and it makes a weird soup at the bottom. So the mixing part you want to be doing quite fresh, but if you wanted to cut your potatoes in advance, you're going to sit them in cold water just so they don't start to brown on the outside and oxidize. That can go for anything as well.
Yeah, but 20 might be really good because you could pop them in the freezer, couldn't you? And you could have these for kids for lunch.
Oh,
Cheers and so
absolutely.
forth.
And you can pretty much cook them from frozen. They're still cooking at this, because everything's cooking at the same rate. You can go straight from the freezer with nice little gloss on top.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm biased because this is my heritage, but I'm also thinking, so many of us...
You're thinking, if I have 20 friends...
No, I'd eat them myself,
No.
because I have no friends. I want to eat the 20 pasties. But no, I was just thinking,
Love your honesty.
I'm very honest. I mean, you can, this is how I roll. But I'm thinking so many of us will go to the supermarket and get that meal deal, and that's perfectly okay. But they're really expensive, aren't they? They're like £4, and we could
And they're really
have
Not
a-
£4, that's very expensive.
I mean, I think that is
They're not
really
very tasty.
Well, it seems good value, doesn't it? But actually, what we could do is we could make maybe we could make a double batch of these and have these tonight, couldn't we? And then maybe we've got some kids; they could go tomorrow in the lunchbox. They're
Perfect snack.
They're
They're
really good
really
the
good
next
cold.
day.
really
Yeah.
good cold. I mean, again, this is my 1970s childhood being sent to school with a cold pasty. But actually, they're really
Delicious.
delicious. Yeah, why not?
So what I've started doing in the meantime is, this is a cheese and herb pasty. So I've got some thyme. Thyme is quite woody and hard, so you like to take these bits off. It's not good if you chop these up nice and fine. They will never really tenderize. So I'm holding them towards the top and I'm pulling them down, and then I discard the stems and I'm just working my way through a nice big bunch. We're going to make these quite herby. They've got lots of really good flavour. If you've got ones like this where they're all together, just pick them off one by one,
Oh, yeah.
pull from the top down. And we've also got a little bit of parsley, but you can have fun with different herbs. This is just very traditional.
So yeah, classic. This is a lot of parsley actually.
Sorry, I didn't. You have to. All.
You're trying to test my knife skills on one
No,
of the
no,
last
this
night.
is just your avenue. I didn't want to. How are you getting on? That looks pretty good.
Is this okay?
I like it.
Beautiful.
The only thing you want to check out for is just that you haven't got any random long bits.
Yeah, I need to. I think that was the
QC,
end.
you just have a little quality control.
There we go. As I say, my knife skills they're not the best, but there we go.
No, this is
This
very
is
good.
it's the ultimate test of the knife skills is the tiny potatoes. So now you can use our best friend Jeffrey.
Yeah.
You're going to use him for the pastry as well, actually. So you can scoop all that potato up into the bowl.
Into this bowl here.
Into the bowl.
I really like, and we can buy these on Amazon and things. These
You can buy them at Bakery Bits.
We can buy them for bakery bits, because again, I think sometimes we worry when we're cooking at home, don't we, that we don't have all the kit. But actually, how much are these to buy now?
I think they're like £2, £1.50 or something. They're very cheap.
I've had mine for like forever and a day. So to the extent I can't even remember how expensive these are.
You can even buy metal ones for about £4.
Yeah.
And that's still very inexpensive.
In terms of kit, I can say I've been living in London for 3 years and I have no kit.
Yeah.
I don't even have a rolling pin
She's
at home.
got wine bottles.
I've got a wine bottle as my rolling pin. You can do anything with nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Don't have a pastry brush.
I didn't have a whisk for a while, so I cannot stress anything that you think needs the perfect equipment. It does not. You can do absolutely anything with nothing.
But it does make life easier if you've got something like this, but
This
not
is-
essential.
In terms of investing in your kitchen,
that
one
is-
good knife and one Jeffrey and a chopping board will get you miles
so
ahead.
many. And yeah, Jeffrey's our best friend. He's been with us all 17 nights.
You want to share some parsley?
I am. I feel like I've really overloaded myself with this amount of parsley.
Looks delicious.
Do you think that's enough time, or do you want a little bit more?
That's plenty.
Time is quite a strong
How much you chop
flavour.
this?
Yeah, go just back and forth, little rock chop.
I can give you a bigger knife if you want.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to punish
That
you
was
with a
very,
tiny knife.
yeah,
Have you got a
very
chef's knife?
specific
Thank
to
you.
Dicing potatoes. So we have potatoes, turnip. We've got our herbs. We have to have a good amount of cheese inside. Believe it or not, we are not going to taste this. Raw potato is not healthy and not good for you to eat, so we're not going to taste it. We're just going to do a good milli count for the salt. We're going to say this is going to make like 7, 8, 9 pasties.
Oh no, Maddie, you're really good at seasoning these. I get it.
I think don't be shy on the salt. So we've got mature cheddar. It's got a little bit of salt, but in terms of everything else, the potatoes, the turnips are quite bland. They need a bit of salt to like give them that extra flavour. So you can go pretty hefty on the salts. I would say.
And definitely using nice mature cheddar, I think.
Yeah, nice mature cheddar. You don't want anything too
too mild.
bland
It's just
or
not
too
going to taste very
watery
good.
either. I would say a teaspoon of salt is probably like a good place to start.
Right, a teaspoon.
A teaspoon. Yeah,
That looks exactly like a teaspoon.
Yeah.
Teaspoon shaped. And our pastry is also like definitely on the under-seasoned side. We're using unsalted butter. Our flour is not salted, so that tiny pinch of salt will only take us so far. So worth
And it
making
does just
the
add
mix
to the
delicious.
flavour as well. So don't be horribly shy with your salt. And same, we'll go a little bit of pepper as well. I don't know. I'm making stuff up here. I always just do 1 crack per person. So I don't know. Yeah,
I like that. That's very
that's how I
generous.
count it.
Was it?
Measure with your heart. You know, spices are.
Measure with your heart. Oh, that is okay. Shane's gone full master chef on the parsley. That is perfect.
Is that all right?
Jeffrey, all that in.
We can do that.
So you can even scrape off your knife, do all this kind of stuff.
There you go.
Very good.
There we go.
And I've got our caramelised onions from before. They've cooled down a little bit. They're looking very good. And that little bit of oil that's in with them will also add to the flavour of this as well. So all in, and this is going to be our mix for our pasties done. It looks like a lot.
It does look like a lot,
It does look like a lot. We did add all those turnips in. We did have the 2 world's biggest potatoes. So I think that's probably... But again, more mix, more pasties, you know?
It looks delicious.
Later on, when we roll out our dough, if we have some scraps left over, we will use this as well. They're called re-rolls, so we're not going to waste anything, and we'll fill up our little scrappy bits with whatever's
Later of
left.
the rolling. Now for the rolling. We've got, like I said, we don't want to sit this mix for too long. That pinch of salt will draw out all the water from the potatoes. You'll see it even as we're making them. It's going to have a little bit of water down the bottom. I am going to, this is a lot more than I thought, so I'm actually going to put another half teaspoon of salt in. I would hate to feed you bland filling on the night that you're here. So I've put another like half teaspoon of salt in. We've got our pastries out from the fridge. You can get yourself a rolling pin, you can get yourself some throwing flour, and if you're feeling very fancy, which we are tonight because we have a special guest, we're going to do a little bit of egg wash as well. So if you've got an egg lying around, they are expensive these days though, eggs. Milk will do just as fine. A little bit of milk just for a little bit of shine and to get any excess flour off as well.
Okay.
So our little mix is going to be set to the side.
If we had surplus filling left over, if we didn't have, when we made our pastry,
Can we use the filling in anything else?
Well, it's kind of just it is what it is. So you can put it inside a ramekin and put either your dry bits on top, like just the ends of your pastry. But yeah, if you cook it, it's still going to be delicious in kind of anything really.
Yeah.
On top of bread would be crazy, but I don't know.
I guess with some breadcrumbs, we could almost turn it into like a crunchy topping on top or something.
Yeah, yeah.
You got
So
some leftover bread or something?
it's going to be delicious.
You can
it just
test it
needs
and
to
get
be,
back.
yeah, it just needs to be cooked. It's almost like a dry mince, I guess.
All right, so we've got our pasty dough that's nice and chilled. It's firmed up a little bit because that butter that's softened will chill down in the fridge because butter in the fridge gets nice and cold. We've got that egg wash that I was talking about. So do you want me to make this now?
Yeah.
So egg wash is just the lovely glossy topping that you can put on top of pastries and breads to make them shiny. So if you joined us for our burger buns, that's what we're going to put on top of those. And we're going to give it a really good whisk to start. So at the moment it's thick, it's gloopy. This is not going to coat anything very well. So we had the magical ingredient, / our favourite.
Our favourite thing.
A little bit of salt. And it actually does the same thing. I say a little bit, it's a good pinch. It does the same thing that it does to the onions, where it pulls out moisture and it starts to break it down. So, looking gloopy and very noisy, sorry.
That's your baby for the night.
There we go.
Already starting to get much thinner, and we want it to look like water once we whisk it for long enough. Break down all those big bits of egg whites. All right, looking good.
And then we
So,
can set that to the
leave
side.
it alone.
We're going to clear our nice bench. So we've got pastry. Now, at no point during this process are you allowed to smash all your pastry together in a ball. So we are still trying to not overmix it, and if you bring it all together into a ball, that's exactly what you're doing. You're kneading, you're overmixing it, it's going to make it tough, chewy. It's also going to add all the dry bits of flour onto the inside. So we're going to do what I talk about all the time, which is gently encourage everything. So encourage / bully, which I'm also very good at. Going to get the faithful rolling pins.
There we go.
Or wine bustle, anything that's like
Wine
circular.
bottle. I'm never gonna live down saying
No, you
wine
won't.
bottle. So if this has got lots of fat in it, but your life will be 10 times easier if you use flour when you need it. So don't be shy. It is easier to add it gradually. So I always start with a little underneath and a little on top, because I know for sure it's going to stick to my rolling pin, it's going to stick to my pastry. And then if it sticks to anything at all, just add a little bit more underneath and on top. And all the time when you're rolling, I like to do the same motion. So I'll go back and forth, and then I always pick it up and rotate it.
So some people might prefer to cut this at this stage into a couple of balls, roll it up, but again that's going to start to mix it and knead it. So it's to be honest, much easier to roll it into a sheet and cut from that.
So if things that can happen,
Do you want a little on top as well?
yeah, a little underneath, a little on top. Things that can happen, and don't be worried. So usually if you have a little bit like this, and you might see when it's rolling it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, don't be shy. You are a doctor. You're going to overlap it. You've got warm hands. This is full of butter. Put it back together again. Use your hands and the warmth of your hands to melt that butter together. So if you've got a hole, again, don't be shy. You're just going to take a little bit of pastry and doctor it up. So this is lovely. You guys are professionals. I don't need to show anyone
Is that
anything.
okay? And are we doing squares? Are we doing rounds? What
So
is
we're
it
going to
doing?
do 3 rounds each, and we've got a side plate, like a little bread plate to cut from. But you can use anything you like from home, something that you think is nice. These are going to be quite like individual dinner pasties, but you could make them slightly smaller or a little bit bigger. Our side plate, sorry.
And Shane is doing
About
exactly
this
the right
size.
thing, lifting up as he goes to make sure it's not stuck to your bench. If it is stuck to your bench, it's going to turn into a bit of a sticky mess. So you just want to be checking that it is moving and it's not stuck down. And if you need to, just a little
Always.
extra bit of flour.
Yeah, I think people sometimes panic about pastry, but it's so easy.
It is easy.
And I think sometimes if we panic, then we go to the shop, don't we? We buy those things in the box. And, I think most people would do that if it's not if you're professional, for phyllo pastry or something really thin.
But actually, this is so much better for us. If you look at the ingredients on that box pastry,
Oh, yeah.
it's not, I
It's
have to be
not
really
got a
careful
lot
now.
on. Yeah.
But if I don't understand the ingredients, I don't really want to eat it. I want to eat real food. And if it doesn't say flour and butter and salt, then what are all those other things in there? And I really worry about that.
And I will say, when you've made it yourself and you've used really, really delicious ingredients, your pastry, you don't want to take it too thin. So if you're doing the same as me, or technically you guys are doing half now, so 250 flour, 125 grams. We're going to go, I don't know, like 2 to 3 mil thick. So not horribly, horribly thick, not like a ½ centimetre or anything like that, but it should happily make, I don't know what this size is. A very big dinner plate, easily, but we're going to make 3 of these. So you should be able to easily fit 3 of these. If you can't, you can roll out a little bit more. So let's go in terms of your floppiness. Something like that is a really nice thickness. I don't know, 2 to 3 mil, if you're counting.
Ooh. If you're a little like me and you roll really unevenly, just try and put pressure evenly either side rather than doing like one big push, or especially when you get to the end, just rolling off the surface. So you're not stretching it, you're just like lightly coaxing it, and always making sure it's like, not stuck to your bench as well. And you can, when you hold your hands over it, fingers are very tactile, you can feel the sort of bumps and valleys in your dough and feel where you've maybe gone a little thin or a little thick. So I can then just go over my pieces of dough. Is this looking good?
They all look beautiful.
Is this okay?
We are ready for chopping. So, in terms of your size, our lovely bench here, we're going to use a nice straight on top, but you might need to transfer to a chopping board if you don't have a lovely stainless steel bench. So like I said, we're going to do 3 kind of good ones, mix them up where you can or match them where you can, and do a nice clean cut.
For you. So if you're doing this at home and you haven't got a surface that you can cut on, just grab yourself a chopping board, lift your pastry onto it really gently and chop onto a nice cutting surface. But this is stainless steel, so we can chop straight onto it.
Straight on it. It's used to it. Don't use your good chef's knife for this.
No.
In fact, you could cut this with a toothpick if you really wanted to. Yeah, use your pastry well. Don't cut too right in the centre. Start right at the edge, because then you just get more out of it. In terms of your short crust, so we have done 1 rollout, and all of these little excess bits, they're called your re-roll or your off-cuts or everything like that. Again, you're not going to smash it up into a ball because that's just going to mix it. We're going to gently place them on top. And I would say you can happily reuse it once, and after that, it's not very good. So other things that you can do with it after you've used it a few times is just kind of use it like really expensive breadcrumbs. So cook it, crumble it up, and use it as anything you like. But once you've done this second roll, so use this pastry once more, it's no longer that lovely short crust pastry. It's more of it's going to be tough. It's going to have a lot of excess flour in it.
Donation
to the floor gods. So now you should have 3 beautiful circles.
Or me too. So I can
That's
re-roll
all right.
this again.
Pop it on the re-roll pile.
Should we do
That's
that?
what it's all about.
Okay.
And that is happy to, so you can rest that again in your fridge if it needs. We're going to just stick it to the side a little bit and we can show you afterwards.
Right.
Okay, and I think we'll make 1 beautiful one each, and then we're going to do a little bit of this orange salad. So for me, depending on how comfortable you are, you can make it on your little plate if you like, or you can make it on the bench. Always put your ugly side face in, because that's going to be the inside of your pie. 1, 2, 3.
Don't worry if it's super floury on the outside. We are going to egg wash it, and that'll give lots of extra shine where we have got any dullness currently. And I'm just going to give this a really quick mix just for any salt that might have collected in the bottom as water comes out.
So you'll need a tiny bit of water because we have been using a little bit of flour just to kind of re-stick it together. So on 1/2 of your side, we're going to do 1 each, I think, and then we can get these oranges, the carrots out. I've got 1 beauty just on 1/2.
So you can just use your fingers.
Pop it in like that. So you kind of like
giant dumpling.
Yeah, a giant dumpling. You are essentially just like making it, giving it the ability to re-stick. So, and I do say start with 1 good spoon because you can always add more in later.
These are definitely like quite large tablespoons, but if you have got tablespoon measure, it'll be a very hefty one.
A good spoon, but you can always put more in afterwards. So this side's the wet side, this side's the dry side. You're going to meet it up in the middle, And you're going to go down one side. Give it a really good squeeze. So this is completely sealed now with that side of water. Now, if you want to get more into your pasty, this is technically called a hand pie. So what you're going to do is open this up a little bit, shove that in, really, really ungracefully. And then you're going to get a little bit more filling in there. And that will give it a nice round bottom as well. I should have said base, but I said bottom.
It came out now.
Yeah, it's out now. A nice round pasty. And so now you've got your extra scoop in there. You're going to finish off that sealing process. And because I've got herbs all over my hands, I'm going to give my hands a quick rinse. So in terms of beauty and grace, it might be looking a little bit rough at this stage, but that's okay. But we're going to finish it beautifully.
So this one with, that looks a bit like a stegosaurus, or will look like once you've gone to the crimping. This one is... I just give it a really firm press because I'm notorious for not crimping mine properly. This one is the Devonshire pasty. It's just a difference in shaping. If you put it on a side with a crimped edge, then it's a Cornish pasty.
And for
just
your
for any
crimping,
purists out there.
you're going 2 fingers on one side and 1 finger on the other. And you're going to push through and pinch. And that's going to give you a little dinosaur spine and finish this off and make it look absolutely beautiful.
Looks great. Takes me back to my childhood again. My grandmother used to do this one-handed, and she literally did, I know.
That is absolutely... I need to watch a video of that,
You
actually.
need to-
That's really...
Cornish grannies.
Cornish grannies, they got the power.
One-handed, they're out.
All right.
So we're going to get
beautiful,
this first
beautiful,
one in.
beautiful. And just because it's a very watery filling, the last thing we do before we put it on the tray is just drag it through a little bit of flour and a little bit of egg wash on top.
So we're going to do a little dunk, just in the base. Pop it on. So if you want to just dunk yours in that little bit of flour.
Okay, dunk.
So talk to me about shaping. What would you call this? Where is this one from? I do always get them confused. Is this a Cornish or a Devon?
So this one here, I'd say is a Cornish.
Okay.
But, you know, we have such rivalry with Devon anyway.
I know, I never want to say the wrong thing. So
No, we literally have war over where you have cream and jam. And you know there is only one answer
Do you
to
want to
that,
clean
don't you?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm giving them a lovely brush with egg wash while Millie does a little bit of a clean. And you just want to do a couple of steam holes in the top. But this egg wash is just going to make them beautiful, not for anything in particular, getting off any excess pastry. We're going to go stab, 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 and straight in that nice hot oven. Beautiful. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. So a good moment to clean down your bench and wash your hands. So we're about to do our carrot salad. You're going to grab yourself a peeler, also a coarse grater, a big salad bowl, and a juicer.
Oh, very controversial, actually. So, jam in Devonshire versus Cornwall.
There is one right answer. What is the
Is
right
it?
answer?
No, you say it.
We always have jam first, cream
Yeah,
on top.
Yes!
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And we know the reason for
I
that,
knew
don't
it.
we? All of your Devonshire, all your Devonshire viewers here. But the reason we always have the cream on top and the jam there, and they do it the other way around in Devon, is because the cream in Devon is far inferior to Cornwall. Therefore, you need to hide it with the jam.
Fighting words.
So there is only one answer.
Oh, you've actually made my night because I do that. I always put my jam first, and I have been told multiple times that's not the right way to do it.
Absolutely the right way. And if we're feeling really posh, if we're ever invited to a garden party at the palace, it's always cream on top.
Good.
The Duke of Cornwall, you see?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
So,
going to take that to my
Do you want to do pasties on the side while we finish off the salad?
I think we can all go
That
in with
sounds
the
good.
salad. Oh,
So, we are going to do some peeling.
Uh-huh.
We'll just scooch up so Manny's got lots of room. So with your carrots, you're starting from the top. Hopefully just doing it in
I'm
one
just jumping in here.
fell swoop rather than doing lots of itty bitty peels. It's just much quicker that way. I think why a lot of home cooks find it really hard to do cooking is they just do things in the way that they've thought is best sometimes. But if you know a little quicker way to do it, it just time flies. You're not sort of spending forever cleaning up. Things are just a little bit more efficient, which seems like a boring thing to do, but it just means you're spending less time doing the boring stuff like peeling, which I'm a big fan of. So you're going to get down to the first nice layer of skin, then we're going to trim them lightly on the bottom, and we'll use the top as our handle for peeling.
And if we've just started cooking, we don't have a peeler. I mean, these are so cheap, but if we didn't have a peeler, could we use a knife?
For carrots, honestly, it's quite hard. It's got quite a thin skin, so you probably end up trimming off quite a lot. But definitely, I've seen people do it for potatoes. I would just say it's more of a safety risk than anything.
Sure.
But you could give them a really, really, really thorough scrub with a vegetable brush or something. But then again, you might also not have one of those. So yeah, so that's a tough one. I think a peeler is something I use almost every day at home.
Yeah.
Whether you're making potatoes, peeling veggies, it's just quite an indispensable piece of kit, I think, when you're building up what you need. But it depends how much fresh veg prep you're doing, I guess.
I mean, they are cheaper chip. You can buy these in supermarkets for a couple of pounds, can't we? So they're not expensive. But
They don't need to be these nice rubber ones. You can get like the all plastic ones with just like a little metal blade. That also great. So once we have gone through our carrots, they're all peeled, we're going to, as I said, trim the bottom. But we can keep the top on. This bit is good as my little handle. So I've got a very, very sharp grater. So I'm going to keep my fingers well away. And I'm going to give you another one. So you're going to do it on the coarse setting of the grater once you're ready.
on the box.
On the box grater, yeah. So if you don't use your grater very often, just be really, really careful. It's probably very sharp.
So I'm using this setting here?
Yeah, nice, the nice thick one. So as I get down to the bottom, I'm trying to keep my fingers out of the way and mainly just using the palm of my hand to secure it. Because no one wants grated fingers in their salad. Just carrots and orange and a little bit of salt.
Better.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go all the way to the bottom. Just get rid of it. It's not worth grating your fingers.
And I guess if we do have a food processor like you're doing with the pastry, we could always do this with the food processor as well, couldn't we?
Yeah, if I'm ever grating a lot of carrots at home, that is quite a nifty tool to have.
Uh-huh.
You can get a lot done at the same time. Depends on how much you cook, I guess. But I think starting basic, like a box grater and a peeler, are really useful things to have. You've got to grate your cheddar, you know, you've got all your mac and cheese that we've been making for our cheese tonight even. So I think it's worth having one good grater on hand. And if you've got one like this, it's kind of doing 6 for 1. We've got a very, very fine setting, we've got a sort of slightly coarser one. We've got almost a mandolin on one side. So it does good bang for your buck getting a multi-use grater.
So I'm going to leave those like this, and it's very slightly wasteful, but I'm
That's all right,
terrified
we
my
can,
fingers with a box
I'm
grater.
also terrified of box graters. Box graters and the Magimix blades.
So
My two fears.
So I literally go with my palm towards the end, just so my small little thing went out the way.
Another donation.
No, I caught it. I caught
Funny.
it.
I've got a few here.
And we're just going to season this really, really simply with a little bit of orange juice. This is a big vitamin C salad, I feel like. Very bright orange, very fresh and summery.
Great colour.
And a little bit of salt. So no oil or anything, just really, really simple dressing.
This is the Eat the Rainbow part 17.
Yeah.
I feel like we've really worked you hard tonight, Shane.
Yeah.
You've really going to earn your dinner, I
The
think.
hard yards.
Well, I think, we have to, sing for our supper, we have to cook for our supper. But this is super simple though, isn't it?
Has it been fun?
It's been great fun. And it's really, really good, and it's such a simple thing, and actually it is fun, and food should be fun, shouldn't it?
It is
It
fun.
should. I think it's a bit of a lie that like cooking is really hard and it takes forever.
Or that cooking is a chore. I think you shouldn't make a chore out of something that you have to do 2-3 times a day, or at least once
Just
a day.
sucks the joy out of life.
Yeah.
Totally. And actually cooking with other people is just great fun, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
If we cook with our loved ones, with our friends, our families, then, or even friends, or even a neighbour or
Yeah,
something,
definitely.
we can many of us live alone, then actually this is great too.
Yeah, so the hour always flies whether we're doing it with just Maddie and I, but especially when we have guests on, it just goes like that. I don't know where the time goes to.
If you missed your little crimping session, I've got 5 little dinosaurs here. This style of crimping, this two on one side, one on the other, is really good for outside of a pie as well. If you've got a nice, if you're doing apple pie, you don't have to do latticing. You can just do something really simple, which is pinch with this one and push it through with this one. So you can do big ones, you can do lots of little ones. These little pasties. I've got 5 new ones here. We've got a lot of re-roll that we can use as well. And these are going in the oven. Yeah, everyone does have their own style. I think mine genuinely do always represent dinosaurs in my mind. But some have like, you can do like a nice, like almost like a wave style. You can do lots of little ones, a few big ones. Everyone has their style. You can tip it on the side. But these, they're all tasty, particularly when you make them yourself.
Right, Shane's got the right idea. We're just going to give it a nice roll, just to crush a little bit of juice out, give it a little extra squeeze. So we've just got some nice navel oranges, and we're going to juice them, but you could use a fork or something if you don't have a citrus reamer like this. And we're going to dress it with this orange juice and a little bit of salt, and that is our salad done.
I love rolling it. It's like a stress room.
Yeah, it's like a little stress ball.
Like a little stress ball. We roll our orange.
It is.
It just gets more juice out, doesn't it?
Definitely, definitely.
And how much orange to carrot do we need if I'm making this later?
Yeah,
Or?
so it's about 750 grams of carrots, give or take. Doesn't need to be extremely precise to 3 big oranges. And now, as I go, my juice is getting very, very full.
They smell really good.
They do
the
smell
oranges.
good, don't
They're
they?
very, very flavoursome.
Shall I tip this in here?
Yes, please, thank you.
Pop that in there.
We get to taste.
We get to taste.
I'm hungry.
I can tell.
It already smells so good here,
It
doesn't it? It really does smell wonderful.
All right.
And this would be great for kids as well, isn't it? Because it's really kind of hands-on. I mean, it's like squeezing
And I
orange.
think grating as well
Yeah.
for kids is such a good like way to like, it's like a gateway into the kitchen because it's easy. It's
Yeah.
like
Colourful.
You know, yeah. And particularly if you're grating cheese, I think.
Yeah.
That's like the best time of my life.
And the peeling as well,
And
actually.
the peeling, yes. And you can become a professional peeler.
Yeah.
Like me.
Like Maddie, and then you find yourself a professional chopper,
Like
and then
me.
you only have to do one job at a
And
time.
you practice every single night.
So how far in advance can we make the salad as well?
This is
Sometimes I worry about salad.
Some carrots, so we use all organic, which I have actually found have a lot less water than the carrots that you buy in the shop.
Yeah.
So this one actually sits quite well. Whereas I think if you have really watery carrots, you might need to either drain them off a little bit or like sit them in the colander, but the flavour only gets better. Like it gets so tasty as time goes on. And even, the day before, just sit in the juices. You can drain it off afterwards, but it does get genuinely tastier over time.
Have you?
I have not put any salt in. I've just been
So
mixing
we've
it.
got, how many carrots do we have there?
We had like...
Medium sizes.
We had like one big one, one medium one small one, a few small ones. So
But we're going to go
4 average
bit by bit
carrots.
with salt.
Yeah.
We're not going to go like a massive handful, overshoot the mark, because that's quite a hard thing to adjust for. So we're going to go into my palm of my hand, just so I can see what's coming out. I'll go 1 big pinch to start. And we'll stir it in, make sure it's really well dissolved. We want a nice balance between the acid and the salts, just to enhance the flavour of the carrots and the orange. And sometimes, like, it's really nice that carrots have a little bit of sweetness, and then put the little acidity from carrots. It's just very well balanced salad. So stirring it to dissolve, and then we can have a taste.
So if you are thinking about keeping this one, I think we discussed it a little bit with the potatoes as well. I was going to bring out the pasties.
Yep.
If you are keeping this overnight, don't add your salt because it will make them watery. There you go. But let's taste. Let's go.
Can I dive in?
Do you want me to pull these out, Matt?
Yeah.
All right. So
No double dipping, of course.
No double dipping.
oh, you've been
got
here
it.
before.
Oh, good.
More salt.
More salt. I only did a little bit. I didn't want to make it too salty. For you, my friend. So these pasties are looking really good. This is kind of the colour we're going towards, where they're glossy, they're golden brown.
I'm going to very casually, can I open this drawer? If you can. I don't know if you can see this one here, because this is a very good example of what you're not looking for. Oh, very, very hot. Okay, that bit there is see how that's quite oily and it's very, very wet looking. So it's not got any colour. It's also quite soft to touch. If it's shiny or it's oily looking, it needs a lot more time. You'll usually see it like in your creases as well. Anything like these darker patches, that's still melted butter. So it hasn't evaporated out any water. So realistically, these should be 20 minutes to half an hour in your oven, depending on how hot you have them. But really golden all the way up to the creases here and here and here, and good colour underneath as well. So realistically, these need at least another 10 minutes in that nice hot oven that we've got. But this golden colour is what you're looking for, but more all over, not just on the top or a little bit on the sides there. So these are going to go back in for 10 healthy minutes in that nice hot oven. But they're getting there and they look
Had to bring them out
lovely.
to show you how they're getting on, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they
a little
look
bit more time.
pretty lovely.
We just done one more pinch of salt, and I think that's taken it pretty much to a good point. That's just us snacking in the corner while Maddie's doing all the hard work.
No salad for the pasties. We're going to eat it before, aren't we? So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
just eating it
This
all
is
now.
our little starter, something nice, quick and fresh.
So these have got 10 minutes. This is ready to go. I hope you learned that pastry is pretty easy. I hope you agree. We pushed you in, no.
It's been great, and I haven't made pastry for so long, and that was super simple. So I'm going to start making pastry at home again.
Yes,
Nice.
represent the Cornish pasty, hey? So we did it by hand, butter, flour, a little bit of water to bring it together. We did it in the machine. We rested it for 10 minutes, rolled it easy peasy, and at no point did we overmix it. It's easy, it's quick, and it's usually very impressive, I think, particularly if you're making pastry for your friends. They very, very much appreciate it, but it is also, as you said, a great cold snack the next day.
Yeah.
So don't stinge, make a lot.
And
It's,
you can buy short crusts in the supermarkets, but yeah, it's got loads of
It's
weird
nowhere
additives.
near as good.
Often a lot of things like vinegar and stuff, which affects the flavour firstly, and that's to stop it from oxidizing. So
Yeah,
they
so
have to
it's
add lots
full
of
of
things to
unnecessary
adjust for the
stuff.
fact that it is basically needs a lot of help to
It
make
just
it good.
needs flour, butter, salt, and water. 4 ingredients.
And a bit of love.
Yeah, and nothing
And a
else.
bit
no
of love.
additives.
You can never forget the love.
Very important
And
ingredient.
warm hands.
And no margarine.
I think that's it for night 17. Thank you so much, Shane, for
Thanks for
joining
having me.
us.
I've so enjoyed this.
Yeah, oh, that's so fabulous. Well, we're doing a little bit, but you're obviously doing a lot. So you should check out Slow Food UK. It's bigger than it looks as a company. But thank you so much for joining us. It was a ball.
Thank you. Can I plug us? slowfood.org.uk. Have a little look at what we're doing.
Yeah, look at it. Check it out. It's awesome. But we will see you for tomorrow night. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute delight. Tag us at Cookery School London, #Cook for Victory.
You've stolen my job.
I know, it's the first time I've done that.
Yeah, we love to see all your creations, so please send them in. We love to see whatever you've been doing at home. And as always, you can rewind if you've missed the spots. If you need to see something again, just watch us back.
Or if you're still making 50 pasties.
For your 20 friends.
For your 20 friends. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.